Now I just say, play some wrong notes. That's basically what I say. I think the most important thing is just that we have ways to create tension. Check it out. You hear that? Tension and release is what makes music move forward. It's in all music, except maybe the most ambient music doesn't maybe rely on kind of that tradition of basically 5/7 to 1. It's basically like a cadential cadence thing. And it's worth thinking about as an improviser, I think, which is kind of what I do. I like improvising and writing too. But when it's time to improvise, I don't like playing compositional stuff. I don't like playing, like patterns and licks at that point aren't attractive to me. They can be if I'm writing. But if I'm actually improvising, I like to make it as improvisational as possible. But as an improviser, I have to make this thing move forward somehow. And plus, it's really fun to create tension. But that whole idea of tension and release is super powerful in a band situation. That's why bass players go to the 5 before it's back to the top of the song. Like, that's what moves you back to the top of the song, right? Somebody's playing 5/7 down there. So it's like 5/1, you know. And then you have a second where it's cool, and then you want to create more tension. There are ways to theoretically think about tension. Like, I really got heavily into that. Like, thinking about scales that cause tension, dominant scales, for example. Symmetrical diminished might be one. I don't know if anybody here is theory versed. It doesn't matter. But I went to music school, and then I got heavily into theory. At first, it was just absolute Greek to me, and I have no Greece in my heritage whatsoever. But I really got into it after a while and explored it. And so I would think, okay, like if I'm playing, that's gonna irritate me in 2 seconds. Okay, so tonic, right? Tonic F. So for a long time I was thinking about, okay, how can I use symmetrical diminished to create tension in a situation like that where we're playing an F? But I was thinking, okay, so part of the F symmetrical diminished sound is B7. That's in there, it's diatonic to F. So I'm gonna play B7 over this F when I want to create tension. So maybe bear with me, I don't think like this anymore, so I don't know if I can do it, but I'm gonna try. So here I am playing an F. Check it out. You hear that? That was B7. Here it is again. I'm going to use it at the end of the phrase. So 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3. I used an arpeggio for B7 at the very end of one phrase as it was going back to another phrase. It's like the equivalent of the bass player playing before they go back to that. It does that, but we're doing it as the line player. There's a million of those. There's a million different sounds that you can theoretically deduce to play to suggest that kind of tension, and a ton of other, because there's like 2,048 different tonalities in the chromatic scale. So do the math. It's endless, which is endless in terms of like what kind of sounds to pick to create the tension, which is one reason why I gave up on that stuff. Because obviously I can't remember all of the different subsets of 2,048 tonalities, and what's the point? All that's happening really is tension is being created. Yeah, each one of those, like B7 creating tension, has a slightly different color to it than D7, which is another one of the other thousands of things you could use. So it is subtly different. It does have its own distinct color, you know. But it's subtle sometimes, the difference. And I think the most important thing is just that we have ways to create tension, to give the music that forward motion. And I don't think it really matters what the way is. I think it matters when it is, when you create the tension. Are you trying to create a tension that brings us back home at the top of a phrase? Are you trying to create tension throughout a phrase and maybe resolve that phrase into another phrase that isn't tense? Those kinds of things. Like, where do you want it to be? Basically, we're talking about dissonance to consonance here. I sort of tend not to think like that because it sounds like value judgment to me. But you know, if you just agree that there is a place in this world for dissonance, I hope so, because that's all there is, sometimes it seems like. But you could think of it that way. I don't think about what it is anymore, which I did when I was practicing that scale, for example. I would say, okay, if I play, you know, if it's resolving to F, I can play A flat minor 7 flat 5 with flat 9 as a pentatonic scale, and that will create tonic tension that I can then, you know, I would think like that. Now I just say, play some wrong notes. That's basically what I say. Which I'll show you what that sounds like too. This is me not thinking about it as opposed to what was before. I was doing this before a little bit. Yeah, check it out. Check this out. Here comes the phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to resolve this. Yeah, do this for me, and then we'll stop this, I promise. But just count now. So I'm going to try to do it on the every other bar. I'm going to create tension just by playing wrong notes. Okay, so 1, 2, it's going to be 1 bar right, 1 bar wrong. 3, 4. Right? Like it's right for a while and then it's wrong for a while. And just doing that, it's like this breath of like in, well, not to be too suggestive, sorry if this is, it's in and out. It really is. And that's life, right? That's in everything. So it's a way to make things move forward. And as I went through a period of like really being super into theory, because it's fascinating, you know. But honestly, I have to say, for me, at this point, it has no place in my music at all. I don't use it when I write, and I don't use it when I play. I use a little bit, like occasionally I'll say, oh, it's an altered scale, it's interesting, you know, or something. Or maybe I played a whole tone thing for a second. Like I just thought whole tone, so then whole tone happened. But it's rare. It's really rare that I use it. which is not to discourage people from getting into it. But know this, it has nothing to do whether somebody's a good musician or not. It might have to do with how knowledgeable someone is about theory, but it's no guarantee to make you play better. Not at all. And most of my favorite musicians knew very little about it. Although people tend to, if they don't have like theory knowledge, they do have specific knowledge that they themselves kind of define in one way or another that they use. Oh, if I put my hand up here when that happens, I like the effect of that. Something like that. Like you could analyze that probably theoretically and figure out why it sounds good. They don't bother with that, and it's fine. So basically, if people ask me, I just say, learn theory if you're interested in it, because it's incredible. And it can lead to sounds that you would never otherwise know.